Welcome everybody to our Cold Climate Fruit Production webinar series. My name is Samaya Tucha and I'll be today's webinar moderator. Today we will be discussing insuring grapes and apples in Wisconsin with Amber Rhode. Amber is currently the Deputy Director of the St. Paul Regional Office USDA Risk Management Agency. As an attendee of the University of Wisconsin River Falls, she was inspired to pursue a career in agriculture after growing up on a dairy farm. Prior to her work at the Risk Management Agency office, she was a crop insurance adjuster and an agent. She is actively involved in the local ag community and also enjoys working with the Oconto Falls FFA alumni chapter, the Oconto County Dairy Promotions, and serving as a volunteer firefighter. We are excited to have her with us today, so please join me in welcoming Amber.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here today. So today we're going to talk about insuring grapes and apples in specifically Wisconsin and Minnesota and Iowa. So our office, I'm going to jump ahead a slide. I apologize. Our office is known as the St. Paul Regional Office. We do serve Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. So a few items on our agenda today are what is a risk management agency and what are our roles? Then we're going to do an overview of the grape insurance program, ending with the apple insurance program. So what is the RMA? RMA is a part of the USDA and was created in 1996. And we serve America's agriculture producers through effective market-based risk management tools to strengthen the economic stability of agricultural producers and rural communities. We are committed to increasing the availability and effectiveness of the federal crop insurance program. We also work with the FCIC, or the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation, to provide innovative crop insurance products to America's farmers and ranchers. We work directly with approved insurance providers, also known as AIPs, to sell and service the federal crop insurance policies in every state and in Puerto Rico through a very unique public-private partnership. RMA backs AIPs who share the risk associated with catastrophic losses due to major weather events. RMA's vision is to secure the future of agriculture by providing world-class rural risk management tools to rural America. To start off today, we're going to do a kind of a brief overview of the crop insurance cycle and how it works. So the main points of the crop insurance cycle include the application process, coverage and billing, the claims process, production reporting, and program changes. On our website at www.rma.gov, it does go into more details on this process. So starting off today, we are going to do a quick dive into the grape insurance program. The grape program was introduced into the St. Paul region in 2020. Currently is available in 5 counties in Minnesota. Now, I know most of our attendees today are from Wisconsin, and so there are options to have your grapes insured in Wisconsin. This is available by written agreement. In a later slide, we are going to discuss what a written agreement is and how you can obtain one. The St. Paul Regional Office is continuing to research the potential for program expansion into additional states and counties. There also are options available for organic coverage, which includes certified and transitional. Coverage levels for grapes are available from 50 to 85%. A few of the insurability requirements for grapes include that it must be grown for wine and/or processing. It must be grown in a vineyard that, if inspected, would be considered acceptable. There are 2 routes that a vineyard could be inspected. One is by a PAW, a pre-acceptance worksheet, which was completed by you, the producer, and also the perennial crop pre-acceptance worksheet, also known as a PAIR, which is completed by the insurance company. Grapes are insurable after the 5th growing season after being set out and must produce an average of 2 tons per acre in at least one of the 3 previous crop years. Now, a little clarification on that. If you do have less than 1 acre, it only needs to be prorated to equal that 2 tons per acre. If your vineyard does not meet that qualification, you can also submit a determined yield request to our office, and we can take a look at it and see if there's some variables that could qualify you to meet that qualification. So how does the insurance work? The type of insurance plan offered for grapes is an actual production history, also known as an APH plan. This production guarantee is based on your yield history. You have a loss when your production falls below your production guarantee. Now, what does this protect against? It protects against adverse weather conditions such as hail, frost, freeze, wind, drought, and excessive moisture, failure of your irrigation water supply, fire if due to natural causes, such as lightning, insects and plant damage, and wildlife. We have two different groups of varieties, or two different groups that are considered our insurable varieties. Our group A includes the cultivars that are grown for juice, jelly, and other processing, and group B, which includes those grown for wine. If you grow a variety that is not specified in this group, please reach out to our office. If it is considered a cold hardy variety and is typically grown for either one of these, it can be insured under the applicable group. This list is also reviewed every year and can be updated. We ask it if you notice that this is not the correct groups for these, that please contact our office so we can keep this up to date as possible. Now, some important dates for the grape program. The sales closing date for the 2026 crop year would be November 20th of 2025. At that time, you do need to have a contract with an agent. We will discuss in a future slide how to contact an agent and find one. After you sign a contract with an agent, you do need to report your acres to that agent by January 15th of 2026. Premium billing date is August 15th. And the end of insurance period is 11/20 for the 2026 crop year. After that, you do need to report your production to your agent by January 15th of 2027. Continuing on to the apple insurance program. So going forward, there's going to be a lot of similarities between grape insurance and apple insurance. Here is a map of the counties in the St. Paul region where apples are insurable. So we do have quite a few counties currently in the state of Wisconsin. Now again, if you are not in one of these red counties, there are options for you to have insurance through a written agreement. Apples vary a little bit where the coverage levels are available from 50 to 75%. Again, apples are insured under an actual production history insurance plan, also known as an APH. This is a production guarantee based on your yield history. And again, you have a loss when your production falls below your production guarantee. This also protects against the same items as the grape insurance: adverse weather conditions, failure of irrigation, fire, insects, wildlife. One addition to the apple program is it also protects against natural causes loss that cannot be prevented, including but not limited to hail, wind, excess sun causing sunburn, and frost and freeze causing rusting. Some of the insurability requirements for apples: that they must be grown for fresh production or processing production. It must be one of the approved tree varieties. And again, grown in an orchard that, if inspected, would be considered acceptable through either the paw, which is completed by you, or a pear, which is completed by the insurance company. Apples must have produced on average 150 bushels per acre in at least one of the last 4 crop years. Again, that can be prorated if you have less than an acre. And also, if you are not meeting that requirement, determined yield requests may be submitted to our office for review. Again, with apples, there are organic options for certified and transitional. One additional item that is available for apples is the contract price addendum. And this allows you to insure your crop at a contract price if you're a certified or transitional producer, and you have a written contract from a buyer by the acreage reporting date. You must select the contract pricing by the sales closing date, again that November date, and provide a copy of the contract by the acreage reporting date of January. The CPA continues while the policy is active. So what that means is that is not something that needs to be selected year after year. It's a continuous addition of your policy. Apples include three different groups of varieties. Our Group A are typically our higher value apples. We have our Group B and our Group C, or also our Group B, and then our Group C, which includes anything not included in Group A or Group B. So one caveat to this is if there's a varietal group of A and B, it can include all commercially recognized selections and brand names, but does not include hybrids created by crosses. If you have a question on whether a variety fits one of these groups, please feel free to contact our office or have your agent contact our office, and we can provide clarification on what group that it should be included in. A few dates that are important, similar to grapes for apples for the 2026 crop year. The sales closing date is November 20th. The acreage reporting date is January 15th of 2026, with our premium billing date of August 15th. One difference between apples and grapes is the end of the insurance date for apples is November 5th instead of November 20th. And again, your production for the 2026 crop year must be reported by January 15th of 2027. So I had mentioned a few times written agreements. Written agreements are available in Wisconsin for both apples and grapes. Written agreements can be requested to establish coverage for a crop not designated in the actuarial documents. Again, a non-program county. So we've seen in the map for apples, there's highlighted counties and only a few counties for grapes in Minnesota. If you are not located in one of those counties, this is your route to obtain insurance. So in offering insurance for those non-program counties, we do use the terms and premiums for counties that have the program. So in Wisconsin for apples, we would try to find a county close to you and make it a similar system to that county. And your actual yields are used to determine your production guarantee. So you do request a written agreement through a crop insurance agent. I want to reiterate an important date here that request must be completed and signed by November 20th for the 2026 crop year. Again, our sales closing date. So here's a list of some of those written agreement request requirements. Now, most of these, your crop insurance agent will work with you on to complete and fill out and submit to the company who then submits it to our office. So the agent will complete a actual change form and complete a current APH for the requested crop in the county, so that year's production. We also need evidence from an ag expert detailing the adaptive varieties that you grow. We do need a map of the vineyard or orchard detailing varieties and planting locations, a description of your practices, variety, and age, an inspection report, either a paw or a pair for each unit. And again, your crop insurance agent can help you on these items. The dates that you as a producer and other growers in the area would normally harvest a crop, the name, location, and distance to where the crop will be sold or used, and at least 3 years of acceptable, verifiable production records. So I have this item highlighted here because this is one of the errors that we typically see that is missed in written agreement submissions. This is a very important factor in it, that we do need 3 years of acceptable, verifiable production records. Now again, your agent can work with you to make sure that your records meet this criteria. And if you are thinking about having crop insurance, I highly suggest to start keeping records as soon as possible that meet these requirements. A marketing certification would also be needed for an insured when you do direct marketing or are vertically integrated. So also, there are a few other options available to purchase insurance. And those include whole farm revenue protection and microfarm. Now, these two items help protect against losses of expected revenue due to unavoidable natural causes. The whole farm revenue protection is tailored to farms with up to $17 million of insured revenue, and the microfarm is tailored to farms up to $350,000 in approved revenue. Now, these are revenue-based and protect all your crops across the board. So for the 2025 crop year, we have came past the sales closing date for whole farm, which was March 15th. The sales closing date for microfarm is 4/15, so there are a few more days left for that if that's something you are interested in. If you are interested in purchasing crop insurance and you go over to the RMA website at rma.usda.gov, in the upper right-hand corner, there will be an agent locator. That will bring you to this page. Here you can put in your location and you can sort by your specialty of what you're looking for. One main thing I do want to point out on this page is that there is a special box for whole farm and microfarm. What that provides you is a list of agents that have notified RMA that they are well versed in those policies. Those policies do require a little bit more paperwork than a normal policy. So we have a list that have agents that will help you walk through that process. To end today, I do have our contact information. Again, my name is Amber Rhode. My email is listed here. We also have our regional office mailbox at rsomn@usda.gov. Please feel free to contact us with any questions, concerns, any clarification that you need. When that email box will go to a specialist that specializes in either grapes or apples, and we will get your answer to you timely. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Amber, for the overview of the program. We're not a big group, and I was wondering if people have questions. Now is the time. We have Amber here to answer any questions that you might have. And you can just, if you want, you can just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the question directly if you want to. If not, if you don't want to do that, put in the chat. I'll be happy to read it. I'm going to start it off with one question that I have. Can you explain a little bit for the Apple one when you were talking about the contract price addendum? What can you explain it like in a simple way? What does that mean and how does that work?
Yes. So again, today we did a high overview of kind of some of the basics. So what that helps protect is your price. We understand that apples can have a higher value depending on specialties and especially in that organic sector. And sometimes the prices that RMA publishes do not reflect that. So what that does is it gives producers to ensure their own prices that they are getting from their producers. So we actually have a variety of crops that do have that contract price addendum. Currently, it is not available on grapes. We are looking at other options and expanding that to a lot of crops. So really just protecting that contract price that you have.
And another question that I have. So basically, anybody that qualifies based on the two requirements that you had, one of them was a certain yield that was the minimum. Anybody is able to apply for this kind of crop insurance?
Yes.
And then the first step would be to contact the office and find an agent that will be able to work with you on filling up that application. Is that usually the way that you would recommend?
Yes, I highly recommend using that agent locator on our website, finding an agent in your area, and working with that agent. So we at RMA, we will answer questions, but we do not sell the product. We help manage the product kind of on the backside. So we work with the AIPs, the approved insurance providers, and agents to help deliver the product to farmers.
Okay. I'm gonna let, if people have questions, So just this is your opportunity to ask the experts. If anybody wants to ask a question, you can just go ahead and unmute yourself. Everybody seems to be very quiet today. There seems to be a lot of questions.
Yes, and if you do have a question, please, our email is listed here. Please send us a question. We're more than willing to get it in the hands of the correct people.
I'll ask a question. Sorry.
Please go ahead.
So I missed I'm not growing grapes just yet, but it is something I'm looking to do. I missed the very beginning of your presentation because I unfortunately joined late. For the NAP program, were there certain counties that were eligible, and if you did have a slide of which counties those were, could see that again, or did I miss that part? Because I caught the apple part.
Okay. Yep. So the NAP program is actually separate from crop insurance. The NAP program is facilitated through your local farm service agency or FSA office. So crop insurance is a separate program from that. So I'm going to ask, I have some of my staff in here that actually were past FSA staff members. Is NAP available for grapes in any county? Could I have one of you send me a message in the chat or answer it in the chat? I'm not familiar with that program, William, so I want to make sure I'm giving you correct information on the NAP program.
Yeah, that's fine. And then for the insurance program, are there county restrictions as well? Just like for apples for grapes?
Currently, yes.
Okay.
And I not restrictions. Just we're working on trying to expand. So one of the topics, actually, when you talk about NAP, part of the reason that we're holding off is because NAP is available in a lot of counties. So if there is a crop insurance program available, NAP is not available. So that is why we're kind of holding off on where we're looking to expand some of this, just so we're not taking one thing away from producers that is working correctly.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. I have another question, and it's about you listed the possible costs that it would apply the crop insurance, and one of the things that you mentioned specifically for apple was about frost, but you said frost when there's rusting or damage to the fruit. What about crop insurance when you have frost to the point that you actually don't have a crop? Is that also included?
Yes, that would be included. Okay. Yes, I know one of the concerns this year is the damage to the trees with this ice storm. So it's based off your production. So if you have a causal loss that causes you to lose production, that's where it's based off of. So having that frost early on, which damages, would cause issues with your production down the road. So yes.
Perfect. I see that Deidre is there. She probably has a question.
Yes. That's right, Amaya. Thank you. I noticed that disease issues can be covered. And I have a particular disease that's caused quite a bit of loss. It's something you don't want hanging around in the orchard. You want to get rid of it as soon as possible. I know often there can be inspections by an insurance agent or insurance company for loss like an agronomic crop. So I was just wondering how that was handled when you have things like disease or insect issues.
Typically, if it's an ongoing issue, you may be asked to provide documentation how you're trying to mitigate that. We understand that sometimes, even with taking all the protection factors that you can to protect something, that the unforeseeable happens. So there are, I don't want to give a flat answer on that because there are variables. My suggestion is just to try to mitigate all costs that you can, or causes. So take all precautions to prevent that.
Okay. For example, last year we had a particular storm on May 21st that just really spread it because we had winds that were somewhere between 80, 90 miles an hour. It was warm, it was rainy, and it just took it throughout. So I would have to document like with photos and also show my practices and spray records and elaborate
potentially. Yes, potentially. I highly recommend in any scenario more documentation. That always helps, especially when you have kind of a one-off or a different scenario that happens.
Mhm. Okay, appreciate it.
When it comes to documentation, and especially to see if you would be available for coverage with crop insurance, when you say like records of yield, what is considered, something that is acceptable as a record? What kind of documentation you have to present in that case?
As a blanket statement, and there are some factors in this, something that is third party verifiable. That's what's typically one of our best options is a third party verification, which can cause issues, right? When we're vertically integrated and some other things. So that's why I highly suggest working with an agent that can look at specific situations and go through the requirements on how to, because there's some variables in that. There's a whole paragraph in one of our handbooks that talks about verifiable production records to go on the specifics of each individual situation on what scenario works best.
Do we have any other questions? I pasted on the chat the link to our YouTube channel where we will post the recording of this webinar. So if some of you joined it late or you want to just review some of the information, you can always watch it again. But since we have Amber here, if anybody else has a pressing question that you want to ask, I'll give a little bit more time if there's more questions. Well, it doesn't look like anybody else has any more questions. I really want to thank Amber for putting together this presentation and for sharing with us this information. I know that I certainly had a lot of people ask me about crop insurance, and I always say, I don't know anything. I don't have any information about this, but I know who knows. So that's why we put together this webinar. So thank you so much for making the time to present to the growers here and for sharing all this information with us. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and my door is always open. If you have any other questions, concerns, please feel free to send them our way.
Great, thank you. Okay, we'll stop the recording.